Hey folks, welcome to Counter Clipping show number 244 for November 3rd, 2025. New camera angle, I'll talk about that in a few minutes and why it's that way. In the meantime, thanks everybody for coming out this evening. Before we get started, I'm going to remind everybody to please do thumbs up the video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And a big shout out to our good friends at Noble Knight Games, the official sponsor of the Counter Clipping show. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. As well as to the patrons of Ardwulf's Lair, whose support and encouragement keep this train rolling. So we are clipping Kingdom of Heaven, which I've had for ages and is supposed to be good, and I would like to play it. We are drinking the Macallan 12, aged in sherry oak casks from Spain, bottled at 43%. It actually tastes like 43% instead of 40, so that's good. It's great stuff. Little pricey, but anyway, I'm pleased to be back this week after getting what turned out to be a sinus infection last week, and I was not going to be able to do the show. And my voice actually was pretty rough last night when we had the chit show. And I'm not sure how long it's going to hold out today. So if we have to, and there's a ton of news, so, buckle up. We may have to pump the American Revolution to next week, but I am prepared with 10 Great American Revolution games that we can talk about. So, not really, no. It's just too hot here right now, to be completely honest. That's what it is. All right, so I'm not going to do the roll calls anymore. YouTube and Google have screwed that up, so we're just going to address folks as we can figure it out according to the new screen names or the account names or whatever the hell it is. So sorry about that, but that's a YouTube thing. That is a YouTube rolling change. Some accounts have it already. Some accounts probably don't have it already yet, but it is an actual change on YouTube's part, and there's no way for me to control it. Across the platform. That's correct. See, there you go. Google knows everything because it started this nonsense. Anyway, so what do we got going on here? All right, let's go directly into the massive amount of news that we have this week. Once again, everybody, thanks for stopping out. This is supposed to be good. The Atkinson American Revolution stuff and the World War II stuff is supposed to be good too. I'm just not sure I'm the target audience for the World War II stuff because I've read a decent amount of World War II stuff, and another popular history of the Western Allies is not something I really need. On the other hand, I don't really know very much about the American Revolution, to be completely honest. All I know is stuff that I have absorbed playing war games and, whatever related games we might say. Danny Goebel from Akron, Ohio. Welcome to the blasted moonscape that is Summit County. Akron proper is not so bad nowadays, but anyway. All right, so let's get into the news here. There's a whole bunch of sales. It's November now, so we're going to see basically everybody doing a sale. I'm not sure if GMT plans to do one, but it kind of sounds like no. However, Decision Games, and I'm going to put a bunch of links in the chat here, folks, so just so you know about that. Decision Games is having a monster game sale is their deal of the month. You buy one game, you get 20%, two games, you get 25%, three games or more, you get 30%. We went through this last night, so I'm going to be super fast with this. Here's the link. I own all of these games except for Wellington's Victory, and I think that all of these games, except Wellington's Victory, have something to offer. Even Highway to the Reich, which everybody seems to agree has some issues, but it is a nice, faithful re-edition of the SPI Classic. Let me fix that. All right, there we go on that. All right, so if anybody wants to check this out at Decision, please do so. Blue Panther is also having a big sale, and this is the banner across the top. I'll put this in the chat as well. And holiday sale November 3rd through the 12th. Use this code at checkout, BPN15, to get 15% off of anything. That's what this says. And I think, as I recall, that we've got a bunch of stuff from the Historical Game Company, Bill Molyneux, Blue Panther themselves, MDG, Lock and Load's got some stuff through there. HGD War Diary has done some stuff through them as well. So there's like a lot to look through here. So, and it's basically all 15% off if you use the code. So I'm not going to lie, it's expensive. It is an expensive game. That said, I like it a lot. So I personally am happy with it. And you do get a very, let's say, complete package in the box too. You better for that price, but you do. So, all right, next up is the Kickstarter, as this has just ended, actually, so I can't really give you any news on this. This ended a couple of days ago. This is a new edition of Napoleon, brought up to the current production standards that Columbia Games is doing. You can't Kickstart it anymore, but you can still pre-order it. So I slept on this when it was live, so I'll throw that in the chat as well. And that is the sale news that I have got. I don't know that it's markedly better than in terms of quality of components. Anyway, quality of design is a different and more complicated question. In terms of quality of components, honestly, I think a lot of the stuff that Decision's done over the last couple of years, 2 or 3 years, has been just as nice. But you do get an enormous quantity of where is my shit for the Compass sale? Compass, I opened tabs for this, god damn it. All right, so Compass's sale is on now too, and if you go here to the 2025 holiday sale, you can download the catalog or browse it in your browser, I suppose. And some of this stuff's pretty damn cheap. So thank you for mentioning that, HUN644, because this thing will be running through. Where does it say what the date is? I'm sure it's in here somewhere. It usually is until sometime in January. So, so there we go. There we go. Brant, thanks for stopping by. MMP will be having a sale pretty soon. I can verify that. So if you didn't get your physical Compass flyer, and they send me 2 every year, I'm not sure why. And that's still around here somewhere. I thought about doing a video about it, but I didn't get that done for a variety of reasons that I might get into immediately after the news. That's all the sales I'm aware of at this point. So let's talk about the Gamers Update posted by Carl Fung on October 29th. We would have talked about this and the GMT Update, which we'll get to next, last week, had I not been sick last week. So, Brand, I'm not allowed to. They come with bill rights on the ones that come to me that says, do not give these to Brand. So I can't do that. I'm totally lying. I think I threw the extra ones away, though. So we will see what the GMT update looks like as well, and that would have otherwise been ready last week. All right, so games at the printer. With this and the GMT update, I will put a link to this. Is a little harder to find than gmtgames.com, and click on the link at the bottom. So I'll put this in the chat as well. If anybody wants to read all of the details, I will, as usual, be summing this up instead of reading you the entire thing. Fallschirmjäger is at the printer, or at least components of it are at the printer. Same deal with no turning back, but they have not finished reviewing the proofs yet. So it hasn't been, the printer has it, but has not yet been given the thumbs up. So and there's a bunch of talk in here about the new supply chain and all that stuff, and that's just going to be what it is. BCS, Battalion S3, which is the BCS magazine that's coming out with the Gala game in it. I'm excited about that because I'm interested in the topic. So newsflash, there we go. Carl has just approved the final proof of no turning back. So that is outstanding news. I'm very much looking forward to getting that for 2 reasons. 1, interest in the battle, and 2, which I have never played a game on, by the way. And just general admiration for the line of battle system, and I very much like to see what the 3.0 rules look like. That will be a new edition of the line of battle rules. And next up, apparently, is Inferno in the Bluegrass, which is Perryville, which I'm also very interested in seeing. I don't think I've played a game about Perryville, but I have at least one. It's an interesting looking battle, but I haven't really dug into it yet. For OCS, we have the Hero City. Carl has not spoken to Tony for a while, but he's slated to submit his material to MMP by the end of the year. And that's going to be I'm going to be very excited about that. And then we have SCS Drive on Kharkov, 3rd Kharkov, February through March of 1943. I don't know much about this. Only that for those who like SCS, I imagine this is going to be a dynamite game. Carl did not include TCS in the Vietnam game, as that's on the slower track to development. I wouldn't expect to see that for a little while yet. So, all right. And they do have the MMP podcast, which is, I'm not sure if it's available on podcast networks or not, but it's definitely available on YouTube. So check that out. And I guess Brian Youst said some stuff about that here. So let's move on to the more time-consuming thing that we're going to cover this evening, which is the GMT update. Again, if you want to read the whole thing, go read the whole thing on GMT's website. So here is the message from Gene. It mostly talks about Weekend at the Warehouse. And there's some pictures from that. And Legendary Tactics is doing this video series of the games that built GMT, and that's been fairly interesting so far. There is a free campaign system now available for Tank Duel, which is sorry about that. That's going to happen this evening. This is why we might not get 2 hours out of me tonight. Dave Poirier. Saw the SCS Kharkov maps last March or April when he gamed with Lee. Didn't play the game, though. That's cool. Well, we might see this, Perigi. We might see this. But we'll see. I don't know where Tony's at with that. I know they met and play tested something a couple of months ago, so I don't know what it was. I was supposed to have talked to Tony and done another live thing from that event in, I believe, Baltimore, and it just the coordination just never quite came together. So, and speaking of a friend of the channel, Justiguard, who I think was at the GMT weekend, good for him. I was not. His design, Seljuk, is on its way from GMT and ought to be here sometime this week. So, expect a designer-assisted unboxing for that. Very much looking forward to that. All right, so free campaign system for Tank Duel. I have not looked at this, nor have I played Tank Duel. It's supposed to be a lot of fun, however, so this looks very interesting. And apparently it includes an Excel spreadsheet, earning it points from me. Let's see. All right, operations update. They're doing much better after very tough first and second quarters. They had a terrific, quote, third quarter in terms of both current and future orders. The result of that is that they have better cash reserves than they've had in a year. Kai and Jason are keeping a full slate of games heading to and back from the printers so they can deliver them to you, and they're working out a strategic plan with the cash that they need to implement it relatively quickly. They are not out of the woods, as we say. Uncertain economic times indeed, but the trajectory is good. So check that out. Tariffs impact has been not that high so far. There's still like extra tariff fees, but the problem is that if Carl kept doing this, he would never have time for anything else, would he? So international shipping information. If you are not located in the United States, and specifically if you're located in any of the areas I'm about to list, you should probably read this. So East Asia, but not Japan or Australia and New Zealand. Worst news. One shipping area that had big problems is getting rolling for the first two shipments. For the first two batches, customers in the region will be getting both the first and second batches together from the fulfillment center. Canada, U.S., and international customers shipped from the U.S. All the shipments for both first and second batches have shipped out. We'll talk about the batches in a minute. Christopher Smith, thanks so much for stopping by. We will catch you on the flip side. Well, maybe there is. I have fortunately, I have probably blocked those people, not because of anything they've said in the last few days, but because they are idiots, and they were obviously idiots before. So, and I can see, man, I've been on the internet a long time. I kind of know how it works at this point. Anyway. Timing of distributor orders. The plan was that distributor orders were supposed to go along with the P500 orders. That did not happen. A universal problem across all the shipments where some of the distribution orders got in later than customer orders and delayed the entire shipment, sometimes by as much as a few weeks. So they're still working out the bugs on this. You will recall that when they said they were going to try to do this, I said that there were going to be issues exactly like this. And there are, surprisingly. I have full faith in GMT and the team over there that they will get this figured out. And in the meantime, I've got enough games. I don't know about you guys. So check the GMT website, recent editions section for a bunch of stuff. There's a Hubris Learn to Play PDF, which apparently some copies of the Hubris book have faded print on pages 17 and 19, so that's available to download now. GMT Talks has talked to Justin over at Justigard, and here's some more recent episodes on that. The box back sneak peek, I'm going to zoom out for this. This is for Baltic Empires. I mean, it's the back of the box, but hey, looks nice to me. So I am interested in seeing, or I should say here, I did not pre-order this. I can't pre-order this. There's a couple cool things that I had on pre-order and had to back off that we'll talk about later on. I think this map actually looks quite cool. It looks representative of the period. That's about all I can say about that at this point. So, all right. Oh, wow. 168 people here. All right. So there is playtest help wanted for Combat Commander Vietnam. I myself would be tempted by this if I had anything resembling the time to playtest something, which I do not. So we'll talk about that again after the news. We do have a bunch of additional Vassal new modules and updates, including Absolute War, Hubris, which is new, China's War, Death Valley. There's a first Winchester module or a change to the existing module. Great Battles of Alexander, Twilight in the East, GBOH interactive map. I'm not sure what that is. I'll have to look at that. More Death Valley, Downfall, Combat Commander Pacific, Last 100 Yards, Gathering Storm, GMT East Front Series Volume 2. The modules for that series kind of pull the games together in groups, and you could kind of figure it out when you go in. You don't have to play like the big combined game. You can play whatever you want, but glad to see that is in there too, along with the release of Army Group North. So... all right. Jonathan Dyer is still waiting for Hubris and Combat Commander Minor Nations. The Australian New Zealander is local for him, so that's awesome. Perigee is very excited for Baltic Empires. Chris Yap, FYI, we hope to have the new counters with updated graphics and rules for Erkley Smith Civil War, new edition to show at SD HistCon. I'm not going to be there. Updated maps still in progress. Honestly, I don't think for its age, I don't think the Victory Games map was that bad. But there's no question that it is not up to current standards, and the counters especially are not up to current readability standards. There are some issues. So I personally will be delighted to see whatever is in the new edition, and unless there's some kind of complete fiasco, I'm going to buy it. And I don't expect that. All right, designer interviews. We talked to Justin. Mesa de Guerra talked to Justin. Legendary Tactics talked to Sam London. The Chit Show talked to Ed and Jeremy, designers of Infernal Machine, and Beyond Solitaire talked to Rachel Billingsley. Let's see what else we got here. All right, digital game updates. Mr. President is getting an update in the next couple of weeks, as of about a week and a half ago when this came out. So that actually might already be there, which will be nice. I would assume he is talking about the Revolution Games version. There is a Space Corp update. They're working on Android support. That's interesting. Although I personally am not particularly tempted to play this kind of thing on my phone, personally. Digital Saratoga gets an update. The release date has been pushed back to December 3rd, which is still not very far away. That is literally a month away today. So check that out. I'm real interested in seeing that. I'm very interested in a Digital Space Corp and a Digital Mr. President. So GMT is going to have a pretty big stable of digital adaptations of their games. I am aware of that, but my Android tablet, which I am not going to replace anytime soon, won't handle it. So So that's that. And of course, we got Rebel Fury, which is now live on Steam. So here's Candace talking about In the Shadows, which looks good. All right, today's new P500 editions. Let's zoom into each of these. One is Fields of Fire Deluxe second printing, which it's a second printing. I'm not going to look very closely at that. Let's see what else we have here. All right, so Ancient Civilizations of East Asia, designed by Christopher Vorderbrugge and Mark McLaughlin. This will be the third game in this sequence after Ancient Civilizations of the Middle Sea and Ancient Civilizations of the Near East or Middle East or whatever it was. So, Vicky, welcome back to the show. Exactly. It's not as space hungry as all that, but it isn't a small game either. I have not played this series, so I don't really have any idea what to say about it, but I do think it's pretty cool that we're getting an Asian iteration of it. So very interested to see this, and I would like to play one of these games at some point. I loved Civ back in the day, and this seems like a spiritual successor, at least. This series seems like a spiritual successor to Civ. So... all right, next up is Punicus. This is by Carlos Olivares. This is presumably about the second about the Second Punic War. This is a prototype game map, so don't read anything into the graphics. So it looks like area movement treatment of the Second Punic War, and I believe there are blocks here as well. I think I would be interested in taking a closer look at this, but I am probably not going to pre-order it right this minute. I'm not going to pre-order anything right this minute. All right, so those are the two new P500s. However, in Ancient Civilizations of East Asia, there are full solo rules for every setup and scenario, which is nice. Here's the Punicus thing. This is based on the mechanics and concepts of Craig Basink's Hellenes, which I've never played. But Craig Basink is also the designer of Triumph and Tragedy, as I recall. And he is a very important person in the field of designer in the field of block games, Columbia-style block games. All right, so and then Fields of Fire again. All right, they have removed Napoleon in Egypt from P500. I think this is unfortunate. I felt like this had a lot of potential to be a pretty cool game. Napoleon's Egyptian campaign is more interesting than a lot of people realize. I would have loved to have had a game on it. And apparently too many people said, I don't really need that, and didn't pre-order it, so it has been bounced. It may land somewhere else, which tends to happen with a decent number of these games that GMT didn't feel were going to work out for them. And frankly, I hope this one does, because I think it does look interesting. All right. The teasers for the next few months include a GBOH expansion / module. Great news. Happy to see that continuing to get support. A solo module for one of our popular game series, allowing solo play of the whole series. I haven't thought about it very hard, and I have no idea what that is. A new edition of a favorite GBOH title. Early word is that this is going to be a new edition of War Galley, which I probably will buy, and a new GBACW series game, which, if Stigler's here, he might be able to tell us what it is, but might not be allowed to tell us what it is. And I think and hope that it is going to be Gleam of Bayonets 2, which is the Antietam game. So, all right. All right, the World Science Fiction Convention will be in Montreal in 2027. I've never been to a Worldcon. It'd be nice. I have no... It seems unlikely. Let me put it that way. All right, Joe Caparula says that it's probably Gleam of Bayonets 2. I hope so. I've got the original. I could get rid of that. All right, yearly bestsellers. Look at that if you want. Here is the International Here I Stand Cup Season 2. This is being played via Vassal, Acts, and WhatsApp. WhatsApp? Anyway, the game's cool. So if you want to participate in this, there's a URL right here. Botos Con 2025. This is in British Columbia. Is November 6th through the 9th. Texas Broadside Wargaming Weekend is November 14th through the 16th, 2025. And I will point out, it's not going to be in here, obviously, but Compass Expo starts this coming week. I think it starts on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. So if anybody's going to that, have fun, be safe, and take your vitamin D or whatever the hell it is it's supposed to help with COVID. Batalladores 2025 is in Spain at 20 to 23 November. I'm sure that's going to be awesome. I would love to go, but I won't. AuckCon, same deal, same dates, November 2025 in Auckland, New Zealand. Here is Bellum Omnium, a 4-day celebration of historical simulation gaming, taking also in Spain. This one is April 9th through the 12th of next year. Gleam 2 is Antietam. And then here we got, hey, thanks GMT for putting us in here with Jerry and Ed. That was a great show. So let's see here. Oh, excellent. Kai has expanded her line of blankets to now include top box art as well. That's interesting. I still need a blanket. At some point that will get ordered. All right, Wolfpack has some optional rules that you can download for free. The East Front Series Vassal module has been updated to include the latest stuff from Army Group North. Paths of Glory is now available on Rally the Troops. That happened, I think, last month or the month before. There's a bunch of 3D printing files here. If you've got a 3D printer from Nerd Workshop for specifically customized to these games. I am personally particularly interested in the models for Space Empires. I started designing my own. It was difficult. But we now have an extra 4-inch box. So, all right. Ladder tournament for Combat Commander. There's a support site for Fields of Fire. None of this is particularly new as far as I know. Here are some strategy and training videos for Jest of Robin Hood. Some Combat Commander unboxings. Continuing to scroll. Here is a Plum Island horror playthrough. That's going to be probably fun to watch. Apparently, there is an optional variant of Speed Play of Congress of Vienna. I was happy with Congress of Vienna right out of the box, personally. But, you know, if you want a faster game, it's nice to have the option. So, let's see here. All right. Most requested new P500 games. At the top of the list is currently Away Team. Three Dog Deluxe is also pretty high. All right, the current charge and shipment. We'll have an update on these after we get done with the big update. All right, so they charged on September 15th for the following 8 items. China's War, Combat Commander Battle Pack number 8, Minor Nations, Combat Commander Europe, Mediterranean and Resistance reprints, Combat Commander Europe Med 20th Anniversary Edition. I showed the box off a little while ago, I think last month. And it's a sharp-looking box. Cross Bronx Expressway and Hubris, Hubris was the one on here that I had an order in for China's War as well, and I had to back both of those off. So this is a good question. I have not heard anything about a second batch of that. I'm not sure I knew that it was already out of print, which is damn unfortunate. All right, so this stuff was supposed to have charged on October 30th. Italy 43, the mounted map and bigger box for that. Next War Taiwan 2nd edition, which apparently is a substantial revision. Seljuk, Stalingrad 42 reprint. The Battle for Normandy errata counters, good for me. And Unconditional Surrender Western campaigns, which I personally think is going to be a very good game based on the Unconditional Surrender mechanics. All right, production outlook disrupted by tariffs, but here's what it's looking like right now. I just covered all this stuff. So this October 30th stuff's probably going sometime in November. Currently at the printer, but not having a ship date yet, includes reprints of A Distant Plane, Ardennes 44, extras for Ardennes 44, new printing of Silent Victory, new printing of The Hunters, and Plum Island Horror. 3rd printing already. Go Herman. How about that? And there's the Men of Iron Tri-Pack 2nd printing, highly recommended by me if you're interested in medieval grand tactical stuff. Also, CNC Napoleonics Expansion 7, The Grand Battles. I got to be honest, I'm considering dumping Commands and Colors Napoleonics. Not because I don't like it, and I have an easy out here too, because I have an extra copy, as Brant knows and can tell you this story, and has many times. I have an extra copy, and I'm probably going to keep the extra copy, but I'm probably going to get rid of everything else just because it's so friggin' difficult to store. That's my big concern about it. I'll keep Ancients and Napoleonics, just the core boxes, and I'm happy with that. If I can fit it in the core box, I'll keep it. That's my current thinking. We'll see. More on unloading in a minute. All right, Infernal Machine, which we talked again to Jeremy and Ed about. That actually looks really neat. The Cuba Libre Calixto box bot update pack, which I could have sworn this has been on the list for like 10 years now, to be completely honest. Mr. President Second Edition, that update kit. Purgatorio, which is the Men of Iron volume on the Guelphs and Ghibellines, which I am super duper interested in. The Gorilla Generation, the latest coin quad. And that's it. All right, going to the printer late October are the 2025 errata and replacement counters. And then in final art and proofing, and I'm reading this as this stuff's supposed to go to the printers in November, includes Baltic Empire, Cuius Regio, and Thunderbolt. I am on the hook for Cuius Regio and Thunderbolt, so I will end up getting nailed in February, something like that. It's probably when that'll start to precipitate out from the printers. Yeah, exactly. I have been waiting just as long as anybody else for this, since Carthage came out. So yeah, no kidding. Nerd Workshop might have a counter tray solution, but the problem is I have absolutely everything, and it's going to, even in a best case scenario where I can get everything in its original box, we're still looking at like 2 feet of shelf space to store Commands and Colors Napoleonics, and I don't have 2 extra feet of shelf space. So all right, December, tentative, 1848 Springtime of Nations, Army of the Potomac, very excited about that. Bear Trap, that looks intriguing. Coast Watchers from Volco, that's probably going to be a big success. A new Combat Commander Battle Pack, a new Next War Supplement, the Battle of Cowpens for the battles of the American Revolution, the Weimar Republic, and Three Dog Deluxe. I will be on the hook for Three Dog Deluxe and Army of the Potomac, and I think I canceled 1848, but I'm super interested in that game. That looks very interesting. That is a very interesting topic. All right, first quarter of next year, and I'm just here at this point. I'm going to point a couple of things out, and then I will just cover the changes. A House Divided Designer Edition could go to the printers at some point in Q1. Army Groups, Barbarossa Army Group South could go sometime in Q1. I'd be very happy to see that. Decisive Action, which is this what I think it is? Is this Joe Chacon's game? Yes, this is Modern Tactical, as I recall. In new editions over here, we got Fields of Fire 3, the Parachute Regiment, Firefight Tactical, Hammer and Sickle, Henry, Lenin's Legacy, which also looks interesting. I'm also very interested in seeing Triumvir and Zheng He, and I can vouch for Microverse. It's solid. This is exactly it. I have everything for it that has been released up to this point. This is the exact problem. All right, Q2 2026 and beyond. We don't have any new stuff here, so let us zoom out and just take a look for any goodies that are at the back. Here is the final cover for Cuius Regio. So I want to say that Stuka Joe was at one of the Spanish conventions, and somebody had this on a table, and I was like instantly like, oh, look at that. And I was very excited when GMT picked this up. So 30 Years War, Hex Map, I'm thrilled about this. I'm very excited to see it. Francisco Gradial is the designer. Here's the map again for Baltic Empires. Here is a map for Bear Trap and some pieces parts. Here is a map from a couple maps from Decisive Action, as well as some counters from that. Counters look nice. Here's some card samples from the Twilight Struggle 20th Anniversary Hall of Fame edition. The cards look nice. I have no particular desire or impetus to replace my copy of Twilight Struggle, however. I completely agree with Joe on this. I think this, I don't have much on the 30 Years War. And All right. Well, here we go, folks. We're going to make a game out of this from now on. It took 36 minutes for this fuckstick to rear their juvenile little Russian head on Twitch. So now is what we do now is we shut Twitch down. Congratulations, you have shut the stream down. Go fuck yourself. Have a nice day. Anyway, we're off Twitch now. I'm going to try it that way, and we might actually have some kind of random number giveaway where somebody with the lucky number at 72 minutes or whatever it is at some future time. We're going to continue to do it exactly this way. Yep, Chris, I have been here. Let me tell you. All right, Ark the Underworld. We got some stuff for that. Here's some more stuff from Away Team. This is going to be a good one. Check out the cover of Baltic Empires. This is badass. I love this cover. I don't know who did this cover, but it looks good. More decisive action stuff, more Epipoli stuff by Jason Wolonsky is the designer over there. This looks very interesting, bringing Levian campaign to the ancient field. How the West Was Won by Ben Knight. That looks worker placement and card-driven action. I don't know. That could be interesting. I don't really know much about it. Here's the cover for Coast Watchers, which we've already looked at. Draken, Pure Land, and somebody said that Pure Land will sell well, and I believe that is true. So, all right, so we're done with this, and then a subsequent update was issued, which I have right here. Thursday, October 30th, they're going to ship the Italy 43. It's extra stuff. Next were Taiwan 2nd edition, Seljuk Stalingrad 42, and Unconditional Surrender Western campaigns. And then that's basically the update. It's a little late for that update at this point. So see, the trouble is that I'm not like monitoring the show from Twitch. So it is impossible for me to stamp on the neck of said fuckstick from where I'm at, and I don't want to have to open Twitch in the middle of the fucking show, and because some idiot spammer is hopping in there to tell you that there's Russian mail order brides available. So we're not going to do that. Talon's pretty good. I've played Talon. It does play kind of like Starfleet Battles, very light, but which is why I didn't pick it up, because it's like, well, I got Starfleet Battles and I'm comfortable with its level of crunch. But if you are not into that level of crunch, then Talon is an excellent idea to check out. It plays very smoothly. All right, so let me now pull this back up, and we're going to talk about the RD news, which has a couple of things. Somebody's going to ask about the Traveler campaign. Our character creation session is this Friday night. We are going to have a lot of fun with that, and I'll probably pull a considerable amount of hair out during the session, because we got to get 10 characters done in 4 hours, and that's going to be not terribly easy. So everything is set up. I will do a video about how that is working. I'm not going to broadcast the game. That's not happening. But what I will do is kind of show off the infrastructure that I have built to support that campaign. That you'll end up seeing a video on that. We have stepped away, perhaps permanently, hopefully permanently, from Windows. This machine that I am streaming on right now is currently running Linux Mint 22. Now, I know that I did say that I thought it was a hardware problem, but both I and the techs at Micro Center, and I trust my scans more than theirs, have scanned the hardware thoroughly and have revealed no problems, which leads me to think that it is a software problem. So that, along with, it had nothing to do with Windows 11. I was already on Windows 11. And it was annoying. It was like frustrating me more every day to just have to fight with the interface and fight with the crashes and fight with Chrome, which crashes all the time. I just got friggin' tired of dealing with it. So I switched to Mint, and I'm now on a not exactly minimalist, but much lighter OS install than I was before. Have not successfully gotten any games to run, but the only game I have tried to run is No Man's Sky, which did not run. I've installed a few other things that I will get testing at some point. Mostly everything else works just fine. I have had a couple of desktop environment crashes, which is kind of a par for the course. But that doesn't like affect anything. You just restart the desktop environment. And it takes like, I don't know, maybe 2 seconds. I have had one in the week. Yeah, it's been about a week, or almost a week, and I've had one system crash, and that might have been from something that I did. I have also had. I'm not paying them. Yeah, Joe, good for you. I'm not paying them for that. Like I said, I've been on Windows 11 for like 2 years now, and I don't like it. It's annoying in every way. It puts more clicks in your way on every feature that I used, as far as I could tell. I'll get to that in a minute, but it depends on exactly how Winterfest shakes out. So here's the other thing. We are going to have a show, episode 250 is coming up before Christmas. It's on like December 18th or something like that. And assuming there's no canceled shows between now and then, and there shouldn't be, there's going to be some giveaways and kind of a general channel update show where I'll talk about kind of state of the channel and what I want to do. There will be some changes. I'm not quitting, nothing like that's happening. You are going to end up seeing more content from the envisioned changes rather than less content, because I'm trying to kind of streamline the workflow of making all this stuff. Excellent. Perigee will be playing Kingdom of Heaven in a few weeks. That's fantastic. I can completely sympathize with this instinct, actually, to go back to more tabletop time. And I am trying to spend less time in front of the computer. But I'm also trying to not spend time wasting time in front of the computer. Like, I mean, if I'm doing something and a YouTube video is on in the background, that's fine. I can deal with that. But if I'm just like sitting there scrolling through YouTube shorts or something like that, that's wasting time, man. I don't want to deal with that. So, the new computer is a little less friendly to that level of time wastage. So all of the the OS switch was in part to try to get a better bead on exactly what was causing the crashing problems before. But like I said, other than the one crash, I'm not sure there's really been a problem yet as far as system stability goes. So Linux Mint is one of the easier Linux distributions to get into. It's not quite plug and play where you install it and off you go. Ubuntu is a little closer in that regard, but it's not that far from just install it and off you go, right? The installation can be, it's slightly technical, but not extremely technical. You have to be able to burn a bootable USB flash drive. And if you know how to do that, and if you don't know how to do that, the installation instructions for every single Linux distribution I looked at tell you how to do it. You probably will need an app to download and install an application to do it, which I didn't mind because I was uninstalling Windows at that point. I considered a dual boot arrangement, which I have done before and I've tried before, and I considered it a little bit of a pain in the ass to set up and a little bit more of a pain in the ass to get rid of it when I was done with it. So I just wiped it and installed Linux over it. Yes, I think this is true. And there's tons of YouTube videos on how to install Linux and why you should and all that stuff. I'm not trying to sell anybody on it. I'm merely explaining my reasons for making the switch. The desktop environment that I chose is called Cinnamon. And these are kind of mix and match. You could pick any desktop environment you want. This is just the one that comes with one of the versions of Linux Mint. Is very similar to Windows in a broad sense, except it doesn't constantly fill my screen with bullshit pop-ups. It doesn't constantly ask me if I would like AI to do my stuff for me. It doesn't constantly, it has so much less frustration. So anyway, and if you've got an older computer that maybe is running Windows, but it runs like crap because Windows is super resource intensive, install Linux on it and see how it does. It's probably going to run a lot faster. Doesn't have to be Linux Mint necessarily, but newcomers to Linux should probably look at Mint, Ubuntu, and there's probably a couple other ones too. There's videos on that too. Anyway, all right. What else do we got? Yeah, that's basically it. So let's talk about the American Revolution, 46 minutes in. First, I think, since I do anticipate a shorter show this evening to protect my voice and throat a little bit, let's hear from our good friends at Noble Knight Games, who are the official sponsors of the Counter Clipping Show. And don't forget the affiliate link in the video description. That's helping a lot over here when folks use the affiliate link. And it really is greatly appreciated. If you were going to buy stuff anyway at Noble Knight, use my affiliate link. And incidentally, folks do sometimes say, hey, I just bought something from Noble Knight. Here's the discount code I used. That's on the Discord. On the Discord, that happens a lot. So I am going to, where did I put the link to the Discord server? I got this out. There it is. Here's a link to the Discord community if anybody needs an invitation. If you're watching this after the fact, feel free to email me. My email address is in the ticker. That might change at some point. Maybe not. We'll see. If anybody wants an invite to the Discord server after the fact and the link's expired, just email me and I'll give you a personalized invite. It is very chill. It is very friendly. Cool things get said. Cool things get talked about. There's it's been a while since anybody's run a game on the Ardwulf's Lair Discord, but there's one game, big Braunstein game of Boot Hill running and the RPG Digest Discord server right now, and you might in fact recognize a couple of the names of the people who are playing in that. And I will be running the Traveler campaign on the RPG Digest Discord server as well. So, all right, so let's talk about. Let me close out some excess windows here. It just feels like such a big relief to not have to deal with that. So anyway, before we get started on that, let's hear from our good friends at Noble Knight. Take it away.
Here at Noble Knight Games, we've been carefully growing the world's largest selection of board games, role-playing games and dice, war games, miniatures and paints, card games, and more. Going on 25 years now. Our rustic castle contains more game and hobby goodness than you can shake a stick at. Complete with careful packaging and the finest customer service the land can provide. You can buy, sell, trade from anywhere in the world, just like nature intended. Noble Knight Games.
All right, big shout out and thanks to our good friends at Noble Knight Games. Darren Leveloff, thanks for stopping by. Upgraded a PC. See, I was buying another PC was not going to happen right now. In principle, could I guess, but it would be really super duper financially irresponsible for me to sink $2,000, which is about what it would cost, into a new computer right now. So we're trying to give this a new lease on life by installing a less burdensome operating system on it. So, and thank you, Danny, for reminding everyone to please do hit the thumbs up. So let's go back over here and talk about the first. I have chosen 10 American Revolution games that I have things to say about. If anybody has additional suggestions for American Revolution games that I am not going to mention here, by all means, throw them in the chat. I have enough extra hardware that setting up an actual home network is by no means out of the question. That is possible. All right, so 1776 by Randy Reed from Avalon Hill, released in 1974. This is a very good game. And in fact, I'm not sure how well we'll see it. Okay. Here, but the map is actually, I don't really like this Honeycomb Mountain effect, but in this or any other game that I've seen it in. But besides that, I actually think this map looks pretty nice for 1974. I reacquired this game. I have no regrets about that whatsoever. I think it is a terrific game, and I would be delighted to play it again at some point. So 1776. And the nice thing is, this is not... Ugh. Somebody is selling it for $135 on Amazon. Noble Knight, I'm guessing this $12 is probably... Oh, no, actually, it's not expensive at all from Noble Knight. There's a first edition and a second edition, and I believe there's that bicentennial edition too. Unpunched for $50. VG, excellent. I think that's a pretty reasonable price nowadays, to be honest. And if you don't mind punched, and for Avalon Hill games specifically, I very much do. Stonewall, whoever this is, I don't know who Stonewall 435 is, but may have picked up first eBay purchase. I assume you're someone who's here every week. In 2002. Yeah, I picked this up. I think I got this, the reacquire. I think I got it from eBay as well. It's not terribly expensive, so you can run down copies of 1776 without spending too much money. It's not terribly complicated either, so that's an additional bonus. All right, Liberty or Death by Harold Buchanan, released by GMT in 2016. I've played this, and I like this a lot. I will acknowledge it's the artificiality of its implementation of coin, the sort of coin framework into this topic. But other than that, I still think this is a very solid game that's a lot of fun. It does have a little more involved combat system than most other coin games do, but it's not crazy or anything like that. Real solid game, and I don't know if there's a good shot of the map. We'll settle for this one. The Terry Leeds map on this is absolutely gorgeous too. So when I saw Terry Leeds was the map artist here, I'm like, wow, this kid's gonna be a superstar. And then I find out Terry Leeds has been doing Wargame map art for at least many years. So, but he did a dynamite job on this one. Bill Simone, welcome back, says that Liberty or Death is a better two-player game. I actually think that that's probably correct. If you just let the bots run, say, the French and the Native Americans, I think you'd end up with a fairly satisfying experience. I don't think that's necessarily true of every coin game, but for this one, it does make sense. It's in my top of the series, too. It's not... At least at this exact moment, it's not my favorite. My favorite remains Pendragon, but I still like this game a lot. All right, the all-time classic, Wooden Ships and Iron Men by S. Craig Taylor. First released in 1974 by Battle Line and later re-released in the somewhat better-known Avalon Hill edition. If we look at the versions here, we will see that the Battle Line edition looks like this. I don't even know if this is box, although it does look like it is. Not such a bad box for black and white box. Now this thing is kind of collectible. Let's see what Noble Knight has it for. You can even see though that the geek market, $165, that seems a little ambitious to me. First edition and second edition, looks like second edition is higher. This is $400, but it's in the shrink wrap. And shrink wrap excellent new, considering how easy it is to crush these Avalon Hill flat boxes, I think is not bad at all. Somebody I went to grade school with, their grandfather served on the Bonhomme Richard in World War II. There was a ship, I don't know what class it was, called the Bonhomme Richard in World War II. Nor do I know how that is the pronunciation of it, to be completely honest. I don't mind the paperwork stuff, to be honest. I can understand why people don't, but it does not matter to me at all. And as Danny points out, a very viable game played with miniatures as well. I will observe that you can get copies of this for substantially less than $400. This is in the shrink wrap. You can get a fair to excellent 75% on punch for $125. That's considerably more reasonable. Punched for $95. This is somewhat collectible nowadays. What can I say? Very good. Drew Ditterer reminds us that is an Essex class carrier. I'll take your word for this too. So fabulous game though. It's fairly detailed. It's more detailed than another game that we're going to talk about in a minute. Now, this also is not strictly American Revolution, but there are American Revolutionary War scenarios, naval scenarios, obviously, in this game, as there are also in the next game, Flying Colors from Mike Nagel and GMT. This is more of a squadron level game than an individual ship level game. You will find that it is much easier to do large naval battles in Flying Colors than it would be in Wooden Ships and Iron Men, like quite by a lot. It's also a pretty solid game. I have everything for it except for, including there's an expansion. I think I have the expansion, but I don't have Serpents of the Seas. So if you haven't ordered Serpents of the Seas yet, the reprint, which is on P500, you should do that. All the games are standalone too. You do not need the original if you're just interested in the Great Northern War at Sea, which is there's a game on that. You can just pick that up. So, and yeah, older games sometimes have paperwork. Newer games tend not to have paperwork. All right. Kevin Featherly thinks Gilbert Collins at a point when he said Revolutionary War operational games tend to fall down because the northern and southern theaters were so dissimilar that a single rule set can't cover both. I do think that Gilbert is probably correct on this. That said, I am but I know very little about it, right? So, maybe it's not 1776, for example, is not a great simulation of the Southern Theater, for example, or the Northern Theater, but I enjoy the game anyway. I will say that Supply Lines of the American Revolution, there's two games. I think they're both Amabel Holland designs from Hollandspiel. I've played the Northern Theater one, and it was really pretty cool. And those are different games for this exact reason, right? And in fact, I forget who the designer was on this, but there's a game called Tarleton's Folly. I think that's what it's called. And there's another one. I've got them both, and I can't remember the name of them. Area Movement games that were released in Against the Odds magazine. And you can link them together. And again, Northern Theater in one game and Southern Theater in the other game. I don't know how different they are, however. Yep, Paragy agrees with me on that. All right, and we're going to move away from this and go to Commands and Colors Tricorn by Richard Borg. I had this. I played it a couple of times. It's pretty good. I just figured I wasn't going to play it much again. I didn't need to own it and have it taken up my shelf space. This is the Commands and Colors game from Compass. There is an expansion. There might be two expansions for this, actually. There's the French expansion, and didn't they do the Jacobite Rising set, which is Jacobite Rebellion, but it is a standalone product where the French box is, you have to have the original box to use it. Tarleton's Quarter. That's that. There you go. And Almost a Miracle is the other one. Yep, exactly right. Thank you, both of you, all of you. All right, so like I said, I have dumped this, but I like the Commands and Colors game system as a light wargaming system. I think it works pretty well. It's easy to teach. It's easy to play. It doesn't take too long. It's a great avenue for getting new people into wargaming. And if you are interested, you or the prospective new wargamer are super interested in the American Revolution, then this is where I would direct you. I don't know what this goes for right now, however. It could be expensive. It is a little expensive. 110, 109, 140. One of these, this 140 is Canadian dollars, though. The 109 is euros, 110 US. I'm not surprised by these prices. The French expansion was my stumbling block, actually. I just couldn't get it. I just couldn't get it for a price I was willing to pay. All right, so moving on, just checking the chat there. Liberty, the American Revolution by Tom and Grant Dalglish and Mark Kwasny. This is Columbia Games' block game of the American Revolution, and frankly, I'd kind of like to try this too. I could probably get them to send me a copy if I really wanted, if I asked, but I'm not going to do that at this time. So similar to Hammer the Scots and Richard III and stuff like that, those are pretty well-regarded games. Be curious to see this one too. I do tend very low res shot of the map here. Who do they say is the map artist? Tom Dalglish, who does do cartography, by the way. I don't know about now because Tom's getting up there. and Adrian George. I was wondering if it was Eric Hotz, who did a lot of work with Columbia for a variety of different projects. This is super interesting. I would like to see this. I put Sails of Glory in here not because I've played it or I'm particularly interested in playing it, but because if I were to hypothetically want like an Age of Sail miniatures game that doesn't require me to paint the miniatures, this is where I would go. This is from Ares. I see this played at Origins every year. It is quite popular. You can buy a ton of stuff for it and spend basically as much as you want. So I won't be doing that. But if I were going to, I would take a look at this. I've talked to people who've played this and they say it's fun, like wargamers who have played this and they say it's fun. Hidden Strike. I think this title is just a bad title. Hidden Strike, American Revolution. What does Hidden Strike mean? It doesn't mean anything. I just don't like the title. And yes, Liberty is one of those block games with hidden information. I would be reluctant to solo them. Sails of Glory is a magnificent game per stacking limit. I agree. And as Doug points out, Doug, thanks for stopping by. Buy the Sails of Glory miniatures and just play close action or wooden ships and Iron Men with them. You could totally do that. Why not? Washington's Crossing as a series of one, a game I no longer own, and that's why, because we never really got anything else there, and that I was never that intrigued. I mean, I shouldn't say it that way. My enthusiasm for it was greatly tempered by the knowledge that there was never going to be another game in the series. Let me put it that way. So it sat around for a while, and I sold it to one of you fine folks a year or two ago. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. All right. In fact, here we go. Here is the Battles for the American Revolution tri-pack. I could just as easily have picked tri-pack number 2, but tri-pack number 1 is the one that I've got. This is a fairly straightforward, but also reasonably detailed. I don't want to say reasonably detailed. What is the term I'm looking for here? It's not like a war game for an 8-year-old. Let me put it that way, right? It's not baby's first war game. But it is also not particularly complicated or challenging. It's got nice big pieces. If you got visibility problems, that's a potential issue. If you do have visibility or contrast problems, I recommend staying away from the Saratoga game, just because that's what the map looks like. But this series, I have yet to actually play it, but this series looks very promising. There is a tri-pack number 2. The series continues to release new games. So look at this. Chris Yap is playing Germantown at SD Hist with Mark Miklos and Eric Lee Smith. That's fantastic. If Mark doesn't, I would be shocked. To be he's the designer, and he plays it a ton too. It's not like he's the kind of designer that says, I have completed this game, I'm going to move on to the next project and never touch it again. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. But Mark Miklos is not doing that. He is fully engaged, all steam ahead, on Battles of the American Revolution. Yeah, and it's even more so. I mean, we're getting a Cowpens game pretty soon, and Utah Springs. There's been maybe one other game on Utah Springs ever. So, all right. So, yeah, super solid. 1775 Rebellion by Bo Beckett and Jeff Stahl, released by Academy Games. And this is one of those sort of Warios, as I call them. It really is a war game, but it also really does use Euro mechanics. But there are dice and stuff, so it's not like completely non-random or anything like that. I think this is a fairly solid game. There's a digital adaptation of it, which I have both played and I think might have written a review of it for Brant, perhaps. If so, that was a long time ago. But real solid game. I've played it both analog and digital, and it's pretty enjoyable. Doesn't take too long. Doesn't overstay its welcome. It's a nice, solid, well-designed game, and the components from Academy are nice. All right. All right. Yeah, it's always a good idea to read the designer's notes, because a lot of times the designer will tell you why they made that decision that seems really strange from the outside. HUN644 would like to see a BOAR game on the Battle of Springfield, which would be interesting. I completely understand this. And I'm not dyslexic, so it's not just you. All right. Next up is the classic Jim Dunnigan American Revolution from 1972. I have this. I picked it up at Compass Expo, I think 2 or 3 years ago for chunk change. I have no idea if this is any good or not. However, my instinct is to say that it's a Dunnigan design, and there's probably something extremely clever about it, at least. So I'm going to give it a shot. This was originally released, I think, in S&T, and it was later... Was it released in S&T? I'm not sure. Apparently not. I must be thinking of something different. Am I thinking of something that I have instead of this, actually? That's also possible. Yep, totally am. I don't have this. This is an interesting, again, though, a Dunnigan design. What I think I have is actually the Civil War game that SPI did in this era. I'm not positive that was a Dunnigan design. I mean, 72, right? It's got, so it's going to show some age, and certainly the graphics are not going to set anybody's pants on fire. They had very limited tools to work with in 1972 for doing the maps. So I got a lot of mileage out of 2-color prints. I still would like to try this, to be completely honest, because again, Jim Dunnigan, early 70s design. I think there's some interesting stuff happening there. Mo from Mo's Game Table. Mo is here. Thanks for stopping by. It's possible I was thinking of this too, but I don't think I was conflating it with this, because that has a distinctive look to it, but I might be wrong too. I've got copies of Typhoon. I got Operation Typhoon, and soon there's going to be a Typhoon 2, and that's going to be great. All right, what else do we got? I might have covered everything. Nope, I got one more. Washington's War by Mark Herman. Now, this is a sort of revision of the original We the People from Avalon Hill, which was released by Avalon Hill, one of those big flat boxes, which I friggin' hate. To be honest, I hate those boxes because they wear poorly and they're hard to store and all that stuff. So this is probably what I was confusing that with, to be completely honest. And Joe Press played it to death. Awesome. Still remember how many militia strength points show up in Massachusetts every time the British are foolish enough to enter. I agree. I think we do need more American Revolution games. I think it is an underserved topic at the moment. I would love to see operational American Revolution games, and there are a few, but there's not that many. The Tarleton's Quarter and Almost a Miracle are operational, however. So we have seen a couple of examples. I think I actually have one of them, but not the other one. So, all right. So Washington's War, a revision of We the People, released many years later. I don't know if it was many years later, by GMT. And this is the one that I've got. I never played the original. I never played the original For the People either. But I played the GMT version, it's 15 years ago now, something like that. And I thought it was pretty cool. I agree with this. Everybody talks about this exact thing. A GCACW approach to the American Revolution, where you'd like take it campaign by campaign, would be interesting. There are some additional things because the American Revolution didn't work exactly like the American Civil War. There are some extra things you'd have to think about, but it's still super solid. I will also say that of the two, the current versions of these two games, Washington's War, which is the American Revolution, and For the People, which is the Civil War, I prefer this For the People, but that's basically based on topical interest rather than on necessarily a statement about which game is better. I can tell you that Washington's War is substantially simpler than For the People. So if you found For the People just a little too much, But you're interested in the American Revolution, then I would take a look at Washington's War. It is primarily a game about area control, but there can be big battles in it too. All right, War for America. Yeah, I did miss that. That's true. No, so End of I have End of Empire. I've talked about End of Empire before, though, and it's not strictly American Revolution. It's got a whole pile of stuff in it. I should actually have included War for America. You're absolutely right about that, and Revolution Road, but I don't know a lot about Revolution Road. War for America, I've actually I have it and have looked at it, and End of Empire. The new edition of End of Empire coming as well. I didn't feel like I was going to be able to give you the full 2 hours tonight, so I only picked 10 games. The Commands and Colors Tricorn is Compass Games. 1777, Year of the Hangman by Clash of Arms. It is operational, and I have it, but I haven't looked at it particularly closely enough to have anything like an opinion on it. All I could do is show you the map. It's got a very interesting map. Let me put it that way. It may be a Rick Barber map, but I'm not positive about that. You've also got Campaigns of 1777, which appeared in, which is another Harold Buchanan design, along with Terry Leeds map. Which appeared in S&T, and which I think is going to get a boxed version at some point sooner or later. You folks have fun at Compass Expo. I'm not going to get to go. So Eric Goebel's played War for America a couple times. I guess the rule book is a bit messy, but I've looked at it. I've seen worse. I'll figure it out. And I will tell you exactly how frustrated I am in figuring it out too, whenever that gets to happen. But part of the impetus about, kind of reorganizing my workflow here is so that I can do less juggling of a million channels and a million different email accounts and browser profiles and all this other stuff, and just concentrate on doing fun stuff, which includes making content. So I will talk more about that. Nothing is settled yet. I will talk more about that in the State of the Channel show, which will be show number 250, which is, I think, again, December 18th or something like that. So it's if I'm not misremembering it, it is okay, I'm full of shit on that. I think it's December 15th, something like that, but it's going to be sometime in December. So it wasn't COVID this time. It wasn't COVID. I got tested, like actually COVID and flu tested. It was a sinus infection in my case. It was a pretty bad sinus infection. I am still on antibiotics and Mucinex. So if I'm going to cough, at least to let the coughing be productive coughing. And the antibiotics is to actually get rid of the infection. So that's what's going on. I was running a substantial fever for a couple of days. So this is true. Monmouth, so they've done at least 2 Battles of the Age of Reason games already that are American Revolution battles, as I recall. Yes. This was about the game Infernal Machine, which we talked about as coming from GMT. That was what that game was about. So, yeah, I'm just trying to be better. Ultimately, all this is me trying to be better organized, right? So, I don't know about all this, but thank you. The sentiment is appreciated. I would like to see the Lace War system, too. As Sean Sullivan points out, it could be adapted to the American Revolution. I have no experience with it whatsoever. Brandywine and Monmouth. Yep, those are and I almost bought that at one point. But what ended up happening was, because those are supposed to be reasonably good first games in that series, Battles for the Age of Reason. And what ended up happening was I ended up getting Prague instead because I found a local guy who had a copy and wanted to sell it. So that's what I got. And I wasn't going to buy more games in the series without giving it more of an evaluation than I have given it thus far. I've seen Skirmish, William Aaron's. I've seen a physical copy of it. Every year at the Origins auction, they would typically have a huge pile of those old American Heritage games to auction off. Yes, very good. If you want to see video on Battles of the Age of Reason, go check What is your channel called now? You changed the name of the channel, did you not? So I believe Brandywine and Germantown are in the same package. There's a Monmouth game too, and I've actually got the old S&T Monmouth, the old one, which was like the last one that SPI did. Wargame or Ramble, folks. If you're not following him here, you should be following him. He does excellent content. So, yeah, I think we're going to have somewhere here, it will be game free, okay? I think we're going to have a big garage sale next year, too. Not to sell games, but to sell miscellaneous other stuff. I have also been working on the war room back here. I have cleared the table, and then, of course, I immediately put more stuff on it, but it's not as challenging a pile of crap to move. I got the table cleared off. I ended up with 4 totes of war games, and there's some RPG stuff in there too. Eventually that stuff will make it up to Noble Knight. And I've got at least 2 more totes of games floating around somewhere. I mean, like unboxed games. Games not already in totes. I can fill up another 2 totes with games, none of which are war games, to take up there whenever that happens. I am in the basement. 3D printer is still kaput. I am more motivated to get it. This is part of my problem is I got so many things going on that I lose track of things too easily, and efforts end up getting disjointed and things end up being distractions. So hopefully at the end of this entire reorganizational saga that we're going through over here, we'll be able to get the 3D printer working again too, because that would be fantastic. I didn't really. Interesting. I'll have to look at mine because I do have this. Did they do a boxed version of this? I doubt it, because it was like the last thing they published, or at least the last S&T that they published. I don't remember thinking that they were thicker than normal, but now that I think about it, they may have been thicker than normal. So yeah, just tiny bit. Anyway, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see this. I think it is an interesting topic that I have not managed to get into that much. I think the best way for me to get back into it is to bust out 1776 and play that. We'll see if that happens. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe I'll take that as a side game for Winterfest. But I'll close with this. I think we might not have time for side games at Winterfest. We are currently talking about simultaneously playing World in Flames and Der Weltkrieg. We'll see if it works out. We need a certain number of people to make it work at all. So we might end up just playing one game. We'll see what happens. Der Weltkrieg is a little more flexible in terms of the number of people than WIF is, assuming that you're going to play like the whole war, the whole game of World in Flames. Maybe. I think you could maybe say this. That would be interesting. All right, folks. I am going to wrap it up after an hour and 19 minutes tonight. Like I said, my voice is a little weak still. Last night was difficult. Actually haven't coughed very much tonight at all. I'm a little pleased by that, but I don't want to risk it either. So let me pull this back up, and we are going to say thanks, everybody, for coming out for the show tonight. By all means, thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. If you want to support the channel, there's a bunch of ways to do that in the video description. And if you want to buy stuff from Noble Knight, then use my affiliate link and I get a little kickback in the form of store credit. So big shout out and thank yous to both Noble Knight and for being our sponsor and the patrons of Ardwulf's Lair. So everybody have a great rest of the night. We'll see you all again soon.